I exposed my cheating husband on the stadium JUMBOTRON during his big game. I never thought I'd be the person to create a spectacle in front of 45,000 screaming fans. But here we are. My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. I was a successful marketing director at a tech company, pulling in a comfortable six-figure salary. My husband, Derek, was a semi-professional basketball player for our city's minor league team. Not NBA level, but he had his local fame, his jersey sales, and his ego that came with being a hometown hero. We'd been married for 7 years. We met in college when he was just starting to get scouted, and I was building my career from the ground up. I supported him through every injury, every failed tryout, every moment when he thought his dreams were dead. When he finally got his contract with the Metros, I was the one who paid for the celebration dinner because his signing bonus hadn't cleared yet. I was the one who managed our finances, bought our house, and made sure we had a stable life while he chased his passion. Derek was charismatic. I'll give him that. He had this infectious smile that could light up a room, and on the court, he was electric. The local newspapers loved him. The fans adored him, and apparently, so did his 24-year-old teammate's girlfriend, Madison. Looking back now, there were signs I should have caught earlier. The way he'd angle his phone away from me when texting. The sudden team meetings that went until 2 a.m. The new cologne he started wearing that I'd never bought him. The distance in his eyes when we'd have dinner together, like his mind was somewhere else entirely. But I trusted him. I believed in our marriage. I thought we were building something real together. I was so incredibly wrong. It started with a phone notification. I wasn't snooping. His phone was charging on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower, and a text popped up that made my blood run cold. Last night was amazing, baby. Can't wait for the next road trip. The sender was listed as Mad Dog in his contacts. I knew Mad Dog. That was Tyler, his teammate. Except this text wasn't from Tyler. The profile picture was a blonde woman in a bikini. My hands were shaking as I unlocked his phone. I knew his passcode. We'd never had secrets. Or so I thought. The messages went back 8 months. 8 months. Photos, videos, explicit conversations about hotel rooms. Lies he'd told me about team bonding that were actually hookups. There were even messages mocking me. She's so clueless, LOL, and just keep her happy with the credit card. I was shaking with rage. The audacity was unreal. I'd sacrificed so much for this man. I'd turned down a promotion that would have required relocating because he needed to stay with the team. I'd attended every single home game for 3 years, wearing his jersey like a devoted wife. I'd made dinner reservations at restaurants I didn't even like because they were his favorites. I'd postponed having children because he said he wanted to focus on his career first. And this is what I got. The worst part wasn't just the cheating, it was the contempt. The way they talked about me like I was an ATM machine with a pulse. The way he'd complain to her about having to pretend to be interested in my work stories. The way she'd send him screenshots of jewelry and designer bags with captions like, hint hint for your wifey's credit card. I sat on our bathroom floor, scrolling through months of betrayal, and cried silently so he wouldn't hear me over the shower. Then I stopped crying, wiped my face, and made a decision. I didn't confront him immediately. I'm a strategist by profession, and I knew that emotional confrontation would only give him the chance to gaslight me or manipulate the situation. Instead, I took screenshots of everything. I backed them up to 3 different cloud services. I documented dates, locations, and cross-referenced them with his work schedule. The pattern was damning. Then I called a divorce attorney. Her name was Patricia Chun, and she had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless. When I showed her the evidence, she actually smiled. He's going to regret this, she said. Infidelity in a marriage where you're the primary breadwinner? We're going to take him to the cleaners. But I didn't want just legal victory. I wanted him to feel what I felt. The public humiliation, betrayal, the moment when everyone you thought respected you sees the truth. The Metro's biggest game of the season was in 3 weeks. It was against our cross-state rivals, the Cobras, and it was always sold out. This year was special. It was also Family Appreciation Night, where they'd be showing photos and videos of players with their families on the Jumbotron during halftime. Derek had been excited about it for months. He'd specifically asked me to put together a cute montage of us for the screen. Oh, I'd give him a montage, all right. I spent the next 2 weeks working in secret. I hired a private investigator to get even more evidence. Photos of Derek and Madison together at restaurants, hotels, even at her apartment. The PI was worth every penny. He got footage of them kissing in his car in a parking garage. He got screenshots of Derek's credit card statements showing expensive jewelry purchases that I'd never received. He even got a video of Madison bragging to her friends at a bar about dating a basketball player, while her actual boyfriend, Derek's teammate Tyler, was on the road. The PI also discovered something that made my blood boil even more. Derek had been taking Madison to our favorite places. places. The Italian restaurant where he proposed to me. The hiking trail where we'd scattered my father's ashes 2 years ago. The bed and breakfast we'd stayed at for our 5th anniversary. He was recycling our memories with her, creating new ones in the same locations like I'd never existed. I also reached out to the team's media coordinator, Jessica. Jessica and I had become friends over the years. She'd always complimented my work, and we'd bonded over being professional women in a male-dominated sports environment. I invited her for coffee and laid it all out. "I need your help with something," I said, showing her just enough evidence to prove I wasn't crazy. "I want to expose Derek at the game, on the JUMBOTRON." During the family segment, Jessica's eyes went wide. "Sarah, that's insane. I could lose my job. What if it wasn't officially you?" I asked. "What if the file just got mixed up? What if someone accidentally uploaded the wrong video to the halftime playlist?" She was silent for a long moment, and she leaned forward. "Derek hit on me last year at the Christmas party," she said quietly. "I rejected him, and he told everyone I was bitter because I wasn't pretty enough. I've hated him ever since. He also tried the same thing with Amanda from concessions and Brittany from ticket sales. He's a serial creep." We shook hands. Over the next week, I worked with Jessica to create the perfect presentation. We timed it to exactly 4 minutes, long enough to show everything, short enough that security wouldn't be able to shut it down before the damage was done. We embedded the video file in a way that made it impossible to stop once it started playing. We tested it 3 times on Jessica's personal laptop to make sure every screenshot was readable on a massive screen. I also consulted with Patricia about the legal ramifications. "Can he sue me for this?" I asked. She shrugged. "He can try, but truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Everything you're showing is documented fact. Plus, he's a public figure in this city, which gives you even more legal protection. The worst that happens is some bad press. But honestly, I think you'll be a hero." I played the perfect wife that morning. I made Derek his pre-game breakfast, egg whites, oatmeal, protein shake. I ironed his warm-up clothes. I kissed him goodbye and told him I'd be in my usual seat, section 104, wearing his jersey. What I didn't tell him was that I'd also invited some special guests: my parents, his parents, my sister, and about 15 of our closest mutual friends. I told them all I was surprising Derek with a special appreciation video, and they needed to be there to see it. I'd even paid for their tickets, $2 for 100 total, but it was worth every penny for what was about to happen. I also made sure to look absolutely stunning that day. I got my hair and makeup professionally done. I wore his jersey, but underneath I had a designer dress that I'd reveal later. I wanted to look like someone who was thriving, not someone whose world was falling apart. The arena was electric that night. The energy of 45,000 people is something you can feel in your bones. I sat in my seat, wearing that stupid jersey with his number on it, and I smiled at the people around me who recognized me as Derek's wife. They had no idea what was coming. My mother kept asking me if I was okay. "You seem nervous." "Honey," she said. "Just excited." I lied. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone around me could hear it. The first half of the game was brutal. I couldn't focus. Every time Derek scored or made a good play, the crowd cheered, and I felt sick. How many of these people knew? How many of his teammates knew and said nothing? How many people had I looked like a fool in front of? At one point, the kiss cam landed on an elderly couple who'd probably been married for 50 years. They kissed sweetly, and the crowd applauded. I wanted to vomit. That was supposed to be Derek and me someday, growing old together, still in love after decades. Instead, I was about to blow up his entire world. Halftime came. The family appreciation segment started. They showed a video of one player's kids surprising him at practice. Everyone awed. They showed another player proposing to his girlfriend at center court from a previous season. The crowd went wild. Then came Derek's segment. The Jumbotron filled with a photo of Derek and me on our wedding day. The crowd cheered. Derek, sitting on the bench for halftime, looked up and smiled that cocky smile. He waved at me. I didn't wave back. Then the photo changed. It was a screenshot of his text conversation with Madison. The sexually explicit messages were blown up 50 feet wide. The crowd's cheering stuttered and died. Confused murmurs rippled through the arena. Another photo, Derek and Madison kissing in a parking garage, time-stamped and dated. It was from 2 weeks ago, a night he'd told me he was having team dinner. Another, his credit card statement showing a $3,500 purchase at a jewelry store. On screen, text appeared, "I never received this gift." But Madison posted it on Instagram the next day. The murmuring turned into gasps. I could see people turning to look at me. I sat perfectly still, hands folded in my lap, my face completely neutral. I'd practiced this expression in the mirror for a week. The video continued. More messages, more photos. A compilation of all his lies, laid out in chronological order with dates and locations. The private investigators' footage of them together. Screenshots of Madison's social media posts, bragging about her secret boyfriend. Then came the part that really twisted the knife, a side-by-side comparison. On the left, photos of Derek and me at various restaurants and locations throughout our marriage. On the right, recent photos of Derek and Madison at those exact same places. Same restaurants, same hiking trails, same hotel in the mountains. The crowd gasped audibly at that one. Then came the finale. A simple message on the screen in bold white letters. Derek Morrison is a cheater. He lied to his wife for 8 months. He spent her her money on his mistress. This is who your hometown hero really is. The arena was dead silent for about 3 seconds. Then chaos erupted. People were screaming. Some were booing Derek. Others were trying to figure out what just happened. The game officials were scrambling, trying to cut to commercial on the TV broadcast, but it was too late. Thousands of people were already recording on their phones. Within minutes, it was on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Hashtag Jumbotron Justice was trending within the hour. I stood up calmly, took off his jersey to reveal the elegant black dress underneath, and walked out of the arena with my head held high. Behind me, I could hear the announcer trying to get control of the situation, but the damage was done. My sister caught up with me in the parking lot. "Holy shit, Sarah," she breathed. "That was the most savage thing I've ever witnessed." "He earned it," I said simply. My phone exploded with messages. Derek called 47 times in the first hour. I didn't answer once. His mother called, screaming about how I'd humiliated the family. I blocked her. His father sent a text calling me a vindictive bitch. I blocked him too. His teammates started messaging, some angry, some apologizing for not telling me sooner. Madison's boyfriend Tyler found out in the worst way possible. He was sitting on the bench when it happened. According to reports later, he tried to punch Derek in the locker room. Security had to separate them. Tyler apparently screamed, "You told me she was just a friend. You looked me in the eyes and lied to me," loud enough that reporters outside the locker room heard it. The team issued a statement within 2 hours, saying they were investigating the situation and took allegations of misconduct seriously. Corporate sponsors started pulling out immediately. Derek's main endorsement deal, a local car dealership chain worth $150,000 a year, terminated his contract by midnight. His sports drink sponsorship dropped him by morning. His appearance at a youth basketball camp the following week was canceled. By the next morning, I was national news. Good Morning America wanted to interview me. The View wanted me on their show. I declined all of them. I'd said what I needed to say on that Jumbotron. I didn't need to explain myself to anyone else. Update 1. A week after what the media was now calling the Jumbotron incident, things got even messier. Derek's lawyers sent me a cease and desist, claiming I'd violated his privacy and damaged his career. Patricia, my attorney, actually laughed when she read it. "Let him sue," she said. "We'll counter-sue for emotional distress, misuse of marital assets, and infidelity. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. Plus, every document we've filed shows you as the victim here. No jury would side with him." But Derek wasn't going down quietly. He went to the media with his own sob story. He did an interview with a local sports radio station, painting himself as the victim. He claimed I was controlling and emotionally abusive, that he'd made a mistake, but I'd humiliated him publicly instead of working through it like adults. He said I'd always made him feel inadequate, and that Madison made him feel appreciated. The audacity was absolutely unreal, except the public wasn't buying it. Social media tore him apart. Women's groups rallied behind me. Someone created a GoFundMe for my legal fees that raised $85,000 in 3 days. I donated it all to a domestic violence charity because I didn't need the money, but I appreciated the support. Then things got worse for Derek. The team suspended him pending investigation. Except they weren't just investigating the cheating. Turns out, Derek had been violating team conduct policies in other ways. He'd been gambling on games, not his own, but still against team rules. He'd been showing up to practice drunk twice in the last month. Madison wasn't even his only affair. There were 2 other women who came forward with evidence of relationships with him over the past 2 years. One was a bartender named Cassie who worked at the sports bar near the arena. She came forward with texts showing Derek had been sleeping with her for 6 months last year. Another was a yoga instructor named Lauren who he'd met at the gym I'd paid for his membership to. She had hotel receipts and photographs. His whole perfect image crumbled in days. Tyler, Madison's actual boyfriend, broke up with her immediately and also gave an interview. He revealed that Derek had been manipulating and lying to him too, telling him that Madison was just a friend and that Tyler was paranoid and insecure. Tyler had believed his teammate over his own instincts. "I thought I was going crazy," Tyler said in the interview. "I'd see them talking and laughing, and he'd tell me I was imagining things. He gaslit me for months." Madison tried to spin her own narrative, claiming she didn't know Derek was married, but the screenshots I'd released clearly showed her acknowledging me in their texts. In one message, she literally wrote, "Did your wife buy that shirt? It's ugly, lol." She lost her job as a pharmaceutical sales rep after her company decided she was no longer a good fit for client-facing roles. Meanwhile, I was getting job offers. 3 different companies reached out wanting to hire me, impressed by my strategic thinking and crisis management skills. I didn't take any of them. I liked my current job, but it was validating to know my professional reputation had only improved from this. Update 2. 2 months after the Jumbotron incident, we were deep in divorce proceedings, and Derek was spiraling. His contract with the Metros was terminated for violation of conduct clauses. He lost all his endorsement deals. His agent dropped him. No other team would touch him. He'd become toxic in the sports world. The story had gone national, and he was now a cautionary tale about ego and infidelity. Meanwhile, my life was improving dramatically. The attention had been overwhelming at first, but it shifted into something unexpectedly positive. I got interviewed by by several major publications about taking back power and not accepting betrayal silently. My company promoted me to vice president of marketing after I handled a major crisis for them with the same strategic precision I'd used on Derek. I'd also started dating again. Nothing serious, just remembering what it felt like to be valued and respected. I went on dates with men who actually listened when I talked about my work, who asked about my interests, who didn't expect me to pay for everything while simultaneously disrespecting me. Derek, on the other hand, was a disaster. His lawyer revealed in court that Derek was now $180,000 in debt. He'd been living beyond his means for years, using credit cards and loans to maintain his lifestyle, assuming his basketball career would keep paying the bills. He'd bought Madison a car, a used BMW that cost $35,000. He'd rented luxury hotel rooms. He'd spent thousands on bottle service at clubs to impress his teammates. He'd bought designer clothes, expensive watches, and had even taken out a loan for a boat he'd used exactly 3 times. And all of it was financed on credit, some of it on our joint credit cards that I'd been paying off without realizing. Patricia destroyed him in the proceedings. Since I'd been the primary breadwinner and he'd committed adultery using marital assets, the judge ruled in my favor on virtually everything. I kept the house. I kept my retirement accounts. I kept the car I'd bought myself. He got stuck with most of the debt and was ordered to pay me spousal support for 3 years since he'd become accustomed to a lifestyle I provided. The look on his face when the judge read that ruling was almost as satisfying as the Jumbotron. His parents tried to intervene, actually showing up at my house one evening to talk sense into me and ask me to be merciful because Derek was struggling. I told them that I'd been merciful for 7 years while their son betrayed me, and now he could struggle alone. They threatened to sue me for defamation. Patricia sent them a letter explaining exactly how badly that would go for them. They backed off. Derek's mother sent me a series of emails calling me every name in the book. I forwarded them all to Patricia, who used them as evidence of harassment in our court filings. Update 3. 6 months after everything exploded, I got a call from Jessica, media coordinator who'd helped me. "You need to see this," she said. She sent me a link to a local news article. Derek had been arrested for drunk driving and possession of cocaine. He'd crashed his car, the one he'd bought with money he didn't have, into a convenience store at 2 a.m. No one was hurt, but he was facing criminal charges. The article included his mugshot. He looked completely different from the cocky, handsome athlete I'd married. His eyes were bloodshot and empty. He'd gained weight and lost the chiseled physique he'd been so proud of. He had a scraggly beard and his hair was unkempt. He looked like what he was, a man who'd thrown away everything and had nothing left. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. I wasn't sad for him. He'd made his choices and earned his consequences. I was just done. Done being angry. Done thinking about him. Done letting him occupy any space in my mind. The criminal charges added another layer to his nightmare. He couldn't afford a good lawyer and ended up with a public defender. He pleaded guilty to reduced charges and got probation, community service, and mandatory rehab. His driver's license was suspended. He was living in a studio apartment in the worst part of town, working at a sporting goods store for $15 an hour. Madison, I heard through mutual connections, had moved back to her hometown in another state, working retail and trying to rebuild her life away from the scandal. She deleted all her social media after the harassment got too intense. Tyler, Derek's former teammate, actually reached out to me to apologize for not seeing the signs and not telling me sooner. We had coffee, and he was genuinely remorseful. He's now engaged to someone else and seems happy. We're not close, but we're cordial. He told me that several other teammates had known about Derek's affairs, but said nothing because of bro code. He regretted not speaking up. It's been a year now since the Jumbotron incident. My life is completely different, and honestly, it's better than it ever was with Derek. I bought a smaller, more modern condo downtown that's entirely mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted, without considering anyone else's taste. Minimalist, clean lines, lots of natural light. Everything Derek would have hated because he thought it looked too cold. I love it. I got another promotion at work and now lead the entire marketing division. I've traveled to 4 countries in the past year, all places Derek never wanted to go because they didn't have good sports bars or whatever excuse he'd use. I went to Paris and saw the Louvre. I went to Japan and experienced Tokyo. I went to Iceland and saw the Northern Lights. I went to Peru and hiked Machu Picchu. I've been dating someone for 3 months now, an architect named Marcus who thinks my Jumbotron story is the most badass thing he's ever heard. He's kind, respectful, and most importantly, honest. We take things slow, and I'm learning to trust again. He pays for his own meals. He shows up when he says he will. He introduces me to his friends and family. He treats me like an equal partner, not an ATM. I adopted a rescue dog named Justice. Yes, I named her that on purpose. No, I'm not sorry. She's a German Shepherd mix who was abandoned by her previous owners, and we're healing together. Derek reached out once, about 3 months ago. He sent a long email apologizing, saying he'd been in therapy and realized how badly he'd treated me. He said he was working on himself and hoped I could forgive him someday. He said he understood why I did what I did and that he deserved it. I read it once and deleted it. I didn't respond. He doesn't deserve my forgiveness, and I don't need to give it to feel at peace. Some people say that's cold, but I disagree. Forgiveness isn't mandatory for healing. Boundaries are. The Jumbotron video still circulates online occasionally. Every few months, someone rediscovers it and it goes viral again. I've been recognized in public a handful of times, usually by women who want to thank me for doing what they wish they'd had the courage to do. I always tell them the same thing. You're stronger than you think. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Looking back on everything, I've learned some valuable lessons that I want to share. Trust your instincts. I ignored so many red flags because I wanted to believe in my marriage. The distance, the secrecy, the sudden changes in behavior, all of it was there, and I talked myself out of seeing it. You don't owe silence to people who betrayed you. Society tells women especially to handle their pain privately, to be graceful in humiliation, to protect the reputations of the people who destroyed theirs. That's garbage. You are allowed to tell the truth. Financial independence is everything. The fact that I was the breadwinner meant I had options when everything fell apart. I wasn't trapped. I could afford a good lawyer. I could walk away without worrying about survival. Every woman should have her own money and her own career. Revenge doesn't have to be petty. It can be strategic. I didn't key his car or cut up his clothes. I exposed the truth in a way that was public, undeniable, and permanent. That's more effective than any emotional outburst could ever be. Your value isn't determined by someone else's inability to see it. Eric's betrayal wasn't about me being insufficient. It was about him being selfish, immature, and entitled. His failure to appreciate me doesn't diminish my worth. People ask me if I regret it. Public humiliation, spectacle, nuclear option instead of a quiet divorce. Absolutely not. Eric took 7 years of my life, my trust, my financial stability, and my dignity. He lied to me for 8 months while I supported his dreams and paid his bills. He mocked me with his mistress, spending my money on her while I wore his jersey like a fool. He recycled our memories, taking her to our special places like I was replaceable. He deserved every second of what happened. Some people clutch their pearls and say I was too harsh, or that private matters should stay private. Those people have never been betrayed by someone they build a life with. They've never felt the specific humiliation of finding out that everyone around you knew you were being played except you. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted accountability. I wanted consequences. I wanted him to feel the same shock and exposure that I felt when I discovered his betrayal. And I got it. Eric Morrison learned the hard way that actions have consequences. He learned that you can't coast on charm and athleticism forever. He learned that when you betray someone who's smarter, more successful, and more strategic than you, fallout can be nuclear. As for me, I learned that I'm stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. I learned that I don't need anyone else to feel complete. I learned that standing up for yourself, even in the most dramatic, public way possible, isn't petty or vindictive. It's powerful. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. To anyone reading this who's been betrayed, lied to, or taken advantage of, you are not required to handle your pain quietly. You are not required to protect the reputation of someone who destroyed yours. You are allowed to expose the truth, demand justice, and walk away with your head held high. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be loud. You are allowed to make them face the consequences of their actions. Eric thought he was the star of the show, a hometown hero everyone adored. He thought he was untouchable, that his charm and talent would always get him out of trouble. But in the end, I was the one who controlled the narrative. And the Jumbotron made sure 45,000 people, and eventually millions online, knew exactly who he really was. Justice served.